The evening before my wedding, my fiancée Chloe's ex-boyfriend called her. I overheard him on the speakerphone she'd forgotten to turn off. His voice was thick with a desperate kind of urgency. "I took something," he said, his words slurring slightly. "It's going to start working in about 30 minutes. If you're not here by then, I'm just going to find someone else to be with." I reached out and took hold of Chloe's arm, my voice low as I tried to make her understand the gravity of the situation. "If you walk out that door right now, I swear I will make you regret it." She forcefully pulled her arm away from my grasp, the sudden movement causing me to lose my balance and stumble to the floor. "Don't be so dramatic," she said, her voice dismissive as she was already moving towards the door. As I watched her leave, a cold, empty feeling settled in my stomach. I pulled out my phone and dialed the number of the one person I knew who disliked Chloe as much as I did in that moment. "Are you busy the day after tomorrow?" I asked. "How would you feel about getting married?" There was a brief pause on the other end, and then a firm, "Done. I'm going to get my birth certificate right now." It was around 10 o'clock in the evening when a phone started ringing, its sharp tone cutting through the quiet of our apartment. I looked up from the work I'd brought home, glancing towards the bathroom where the sound of the shower was running. That would be Chloe's phone. We had always had an open policy with our devices, a sense of shared trust that meant looking at each other's phones was never an issue. With our wedding only a day away, I already felt like her husband. With that thought, I reached over and picked up her phone. The call was from a number I didn't recognize. The second I answered, my ear was assaulted by the loud, distorted sound of heavy metal music, making me wince. I figured it was just a wrong number and was about to hang up when a man's voice, broken by sobs, came through the line. "Chloe, I'm so sorry for everything," he cried. "You're only marrying Alex to get back at me, but you're just going to hurt both of you. Please, just ask me to marry you again. I'll say yes this time. I'll be the one waiting for you." After he finished his plea, the music in the background stopped, and the line fell completely silent. It was a strange and unsettling moment. My fiancée's ex-boyfriend was calling her the night before our wedding, trying to win her back. The audacity of it was baffling. What was even more confusing was that Chloe had always insisted to me that she had never been in love before we met. I held the phone tightly, my gaze dropping to the documents on my lap. But the text was just a meaningless blur. "Who was that on the phone?" Chloe asked as she came out of the bathroom, a robe tied around her waist and a towel wrapped around her wet hair. I looked at her for a long moment before I decided to put the phone on speaker, ignoring the puzzled expression on her face. "Chloe," the man's voice said again, "I'm at the Grand Lux. I took something. If you're not here in half an hour, I'm going to find another woman to help me with this." Chloe's hand, which had been drying her hair, froze in place. A look of pure panic flashed in her eyes as she lunged forward, snatching the phone from my hand and quickly ending the call. I watched her, my expression unreadable, taking in her flustered state. "It's probably just Sam and the guys playing a prank," she said, trying to sound casual. "They're just trying to get me to come out for a drink. Don't worry. And maybe don't answer calls from numbers you don't know anymore." Within a few seconds, she had composed herself. "You should get some sleep. It's my last bachelorette party, and they'll probably want to stay out late." As she spoke, Chloe walked over to the closet. I leaned against the door frame with my arms crossed, observing her. Chloe was known for being incredibly particular. Every outfit had to be perfectly matched, from her shoes to her earrings. Every strand of hair was always meticulously styled. But now, she wasn't even looking, just grabbing two items that clashed completely and pulling them on. "If you're going to lie to me, you could at least try to make it believable," I said calmly. "Or do you really think I'm that stupid? There's a picture of Sam on his social media page with his leg in a cast from last week. And I haven't heard a single thing about any bachelorette party until this very second. A suspicious call comes in, and now you're suddenly rushing out the door to see an old boyfriend who claims to be on drugs?" Caught in her lie, Chloe looked deeply uncomfortable. After a moment of hesitation, she finally managed a weak reply. "I'll explain everything when I get back," she said. "I can't just let him destroy his life, not if it's because of me. I'm just going to take him to the hospital and then I'll come right back. It won't have any effect on our wedding." She tried to move past me, but I blocked her way, grabbing her arm. My gaze was firm. "If you go, this is over." During our tense standoff, her phone rang again. This time the caller ID showed it was a waiter from the club. "Excuse me, is this Miss Chloe?" a voice asked. "Your friend is—" "Hey, sir, please don't take your clothes off here." Chloe's breath caught in her throat. She yanked her hand away from me with surprising force. "Stop making a scene," she hissed. The sudden movement made me lose my balance, and I fell backward, my arm scraping hard against the corner of the doorframe. Small beads of blood started to form on my skin. I gritted my teeth against the sting. "Chloe!" She turned back, a flicker of concern on her face as if she wanted to help me, but the constant vibration of her phone in her pocket seemed to pull her away. In the end, she turned towards the door, grabbing her keys from the bowl on the table. The only thing she said to me was, "The first aid kit is in the left cabinet. Just patch yourself up. I'll be back soon." Chloe left without looking back. I stared at my scraped and bleeding arm, and a cold resolve washed over me. I picked up my phone and called her biggest rival, Maya. "Clear your schedule for the day after tomorrow," I said. "You're going to marry me." There was a long pause on the other end, followed by a sharp curse. "You got it," she said. "I'm on my way to get my birth certificate now." At a red light, Maya glanced over at me for what must have been the 8th time since we left my apartment. I finally turned to look at her, my patience wearing thin. "If you want to say something, just say it. Stop staring at me." "So touchy," Maya muttered under her breath. "I was just wondering which hospital you wanted to go to." After our brief phone call, Maya had hung up without another word. 30 minutes later, she was waiting for me downstairs. The first thing she noticed was the injury on my arm. Her brow furrowed with what looked like concern for a split second, before her expression became neutral again. Then, she adopted a casual tone. I had been expecting her to ask about the sudden change of brides. I had prepared myself for her to gloat, to mock the situation. Instead, she took a completely different approach, and it left me momentarily speechless. "We should probably go to Mercy General," she continued, talking more to herself than to me. "Might as well take advantage of Chloe's family connections while they still think you're about to be their son-in-law." Just then, the light turned green, and our car moved forward with the flow of traffic. I watched the city lights streak past the window and licked my dry lips. "Get me a front-page story in the news later," I said suddenly. "I'm going to do a live stream." Maya kept one hand on the steering wheel while the other rummaged around in the passenger seat, eventually producing a carton of milk. She tossed it into my lap. "Easy enough," she said nonchalantly. "What's the occasion? Announcing our epic love story?" A slow, humorless smile spread across my face. My voice was chillingly calm. "No, we're going to catch a cheater." My arm was bandaged quickly at the hospital. By the time we left, it was nearly midnight. Maya drove directly to the Grand Lux without any hesitation, as if she were worried I might change my mind if we delayed. Since she happened to own the hotel, it was no trouble at all for her to find out which room Chloe was in. As we stepped onto the elevator, I started the live stream on my phone. The moment the elevator doors opened onto the correct floor, an intimate scene was unfolding right in front of an open hotel room door, accompanied by a voice I recognized all too well. Chloe's breathing was heavy. "Daniel, stop it. I'm taking you to the hospital." So her ex-boyfriend's name was Daniel. I thought I was remaining calm, but my hands were trembling, betraying the turmoil inside me. Maya reached out from behind me, her hand steadying my phone as I held it up. On the screen, a wobbly Daniel leaned against Chloe, breathing heavily and smiling. "You came," he slurred. "I knew you couldn't stay away from me. When I heard about your wedding, I lost my mind. I skipped my competition and flew back right away. You're only marrying that guy, Alex, because his mouth looks like mine, because he likes to paint like I do, and because he loves musicals just like I do." Daniel paused, then laughed with a sense of triumph. "Just admit it. You've always loved me, and I love you too." Chloe didn't say anything in response. She simply wrapped an arm around Daniel's waist, pushed him against the wall of the hotel room, and kissed him deeply. Suddenly, my vision went black. It was Maya. She had stepped in front of me, leaning in to whisper in my ear, "Don't look. It's disgusting." Maya ended the live stream, which was already flooded with comments, and gently guided me away from the room. The hallway lights were painfully bright, illuminating the look of pure indignation on her face. She was still muttering curses under her breath, seemingly more upset than I, the actual person being wronged, was. I found it strangely amusing, and at the same time a feeling of warmth spread through my chest. I patted her on the shoulder. "What are you so angry about? Let's just wait and see how this all unfolds." Everyone in our social circle knew that Maya and Chloe had been enemies from the moment they met. No one knew the exact reason why, only that Chloe had always been presented as the perfect daughter that everyone else was measured against. One day, Chloe would get Maya into trouble with her family. The next, Maya would find a way to embarrass Chloe publicly. So, when Maya appeared at the wedding as the bride instead of Chloe, a stunned silence fell over the entire hall. "Does the MC need a personal invitation to start?" Maya raised an eyebrow, a slight smile playing on her lips as she looked towards the host. And now let's welcome our beautiful bride," the MC stammered. I slipped the wedding ring onto Maya's finger. When it was her turn to do the same, the large doors of the banquet hall burst open. I expected it to be Chloe, but instead it was my friend Sam, leaning heavily on a crutch. In that split second of distraction, Maya slid the ring onto my finger with practiced speed. I was forced to pull my gaze away from the door and found myself looking into a pair of bright, smiling eyes. "Wait, isn't this supposed to be your wedding to Chloe?" Sam asked after the ceremony, sidling up to me with a look of utter confusion still on his face. "Your dear Chloe was otherwise occupied," I replied, my smile not reaching my eyes. "Who knows, she might still be in bed with her old boyfriend." "That's impossible," Sam retorted immediately. "Everyone knows how much she loves you. Last year, when you two were kidnapped, she gave you the only chance to escape. She's been in love with you for years. The year you went abroad for school, she was always finding reasons for business trips just to come and see you. She was so worried you wouldn't like the food that she learned how to cook. For years, you're the only person she's ever cooked for." I had no desire to take a trip down memory lane. I cut Sam off before he could continue listing Chloe's supposed virtues. "She let me escape because her own leg was broken. She needed me to get out and find help for her. And those business trips? It just so happened that Daniel was studying in the same country. I was just the convenient side visit. I only found all of this out yesterday. As for her cooking, she's in the kitchen maybe 10 times a year. Who do you really think she's practicing for? I've done my fair share of stupid things for her too. Don't even start trying to make me feel guilty." Ever since we were kids, I had followed Chloe around like a shadow. In middle school, I skipped my own classes to help her and threatened any boy who tried to get too close. I was so focused on her that my grades suffered terribly. My parents, unable to watch it continue, sent me to study abroad, and I didn't return until it was time for college. I didn't want to say anymore. I just took out my phone and played last night's recording for him. From the moment the hotel room door opened to the unmistakable sounds of their encounter, Sam's mouth snapped shut, and he quietly walked away. Daniel's appearance had been like a catalyst, tearing away the perfect image Chloe had so carefully constructed and letting me see the truth that lay beneath. That night, after a shower, I was lying on the bed in my pajamas when a message from my best friend, Jake, appeared on my phone screen. "You have no idea how great the comments are online," he wrote. "The White family's stock has absolutely plummeted, but why Maya? And she actually went along with it. Did you two, you know?" My fingers hovered over the keyboard as I typed out a reply. "They're sworn enemies. Of course she would take any opportunity to ruin Chloe. It's just a performance. There's no way we would actually get together." I never got the chance to send the message. A hand reached down from above me and snatched my phone. I turned my head and saw Maya, completely naked, leaning over me. She swiped her finger across the screen, read the messages, and then casually tossed the phone onto the nightstand. She lowered her head to look at me, one eyebrow raised questioningly. From my position, I could see the elegant curve of her neck, her delicate collarbones, and the smooth lines of her body. Any further down? And I quickly looked away. I cleared my throat, trying to keep my voice steady. You're dripping water on me." As I tried to push her away, the top of my pajama shirt slipped, exposing my shoulders and a wide section of my chest. Maya's eyes instantly darkened. She pinned my hands above my head. "Who said I was acting?" she murmured. "Now just be a good boy and accept it." After a night of intense passion, I was so exhausted that I fell asleep almost immediately. When the phone rang, I was barely conscious. I thought I heard Chloe's angry voice shouting, "How dare you touch Alex!" The next day, I was shaken awake. I opened my eyes to find a beautiful face just inches from mine. I jolted in surprise, and the sudden movement sent a sharp ache through muscles I didn't know I had. "Morning, babe," she said. "Don't go back to sleep. We have important business to take care of today." Her husky voice whispered right next to my ear, sending a shiver down my spine. To make things even more difficult, she gently nibbled on my earlobe. The chaotic memories of the previous night came flooding back into my mind. The thought made me cringe, and I gritted my teeth. "Let go, and don't call me that." "Okay, honey," Maya replied, switching terms of endearment so smoothly that it made me think her first choice was just a test. A thought suddenly came to me. "Don't you have to go to work?" At that, Maya gave me a pointed look. "Have you already forgotten what you promised me last night?" Last night. Her assault had been too effective. My defenses were completely broken, and I was forced to agree to her terms. "Get up and get dressed. We're going to City Hall." That's right. Last night, Maya had made me promise to go with her to get our marriage license. From the very beginning, I had made it clear to her that this wedding was just a business arrangement, a partnership. She didn't actually need to get her birth certificate. But Maya had agreed to my terms with surprising ease. Sitting in the car on the way there, I suddenly felt like an animal that had willingly walked into a hunter's trap. With a mix of suspicion, shock, and genuine confusion, I asked her, "You don't actually have feelings for me, do you?" "Of course I do," she answered, her tone so natural it took me a moment to register her words. "Are you just now realizing that?" Who was Maya Shaw? The illegitimate daughter who was only formally recognized by her family when she was in high school. Everyone in our circle whispered that the Shaws would just give her a lump sum of money and send her away when she turned 18. But this was the person everyone had underestimated. On her 18th birthday, she had taken complete control of the entire Shaw family business empire. Her words were best taken with a large grain of salt. I had to remind myself not to get carried away. Maya went to find a parking spot while I waited for her at the entrance to City Hall. The sun was beating down, And the already hot and humid weather was made even worse by the arrival of Chloe, which added a thick layer of frustration to my mood. She looked exhausted. Despite a heavy layer of foundation, the dark circles under her eyes were still prominent. Daniel was clearly a lot to handle. When she saw me, Chloe's tired eyes lit up as if a spark had been reignited within her. I scoffed to myself and started to walk away, trying to avoid the inevitable drama. The sound of footsteps hurried to catch up with me. I cursed my decision to wear dress shoes as Chloe easily caught up and grabbed my wrist. Her voice was a low, desperate plea. "Alex, I know I was completely wrong. If I got on my knees and begged for your forgiveness right now, would you take me back?" Chloe looked at me with a glimmer of hope in her eyes. "Then kneel," I said flatly. Her grip on my wrist was surprisingly strong. I couldn't pull away. So I just nodded in agreement. I had agreed so quickly that Chloe seemed stunned for a moment. I tilted my chin up slightly. "Go on, kneel." The look in Chloe's eyes was one of deep, misplaced affection. "Alex, if I kneel, will you really forgive me?" "If you're going to do it, then do it. Stop wasting my time. You don't actually believe I feel sorry for you, do you?" My patience had run out. I pried at her fingers, my face a mask of disgust. "You're more persistent than a leech. Trash belongs in a dumpster. Stop coming out here and polluting the air." Chloe had always preferred her partners to be gentle and agreeable. To please her, I had always tried my best to be that person for her. Looking back on it now, it was all a joke. The more I tried to pull away, the tighter Chloe held on. She was about to use her old tactic of pulling me into a hug to calm me down, but just as she made her move, Maya, who had returned from parking the car, sent her stumbling backward with a swift kick. Her eyes were blazing with a rage like a dragon whose treasure had just been threatened. "Get your filthy hands off of my husband, you creep!" It was so impressive. I had to fight the urge to applaud. Maya had moved so quickly. Chloe pressed her tongue against the inside of her cheek where she'd been hit, her eyes filled with venom as she glared at Maya. "Honey, hold these for me," Maya said, handing me the documents she was still carrying. They were perfectly smooth, without a single crease. In the short time it took for me to look down at them, the two women were already attacking each other like a pair of wild animals. By the time Daniel arrived on the scene, Chloe's face was already bruised. He was immediately distressed and turned to me with an accusatory tone. "Mr. Wilson, you must be enjoying this, watching two amazing women fight over you," he said. "Does it make you feel powerful? Because you wouldn't leave her alone, Chloe was forced to be with you, unable to be with the person she truly loves. She was tormented every single day. Now that she's finally free, why do you have to keep bothering her? Can't you just let her be happy?" Daniel was wearing a white shirt today, which, combined with his handsome face, gave him the appearance of a pure, innocent victim. I could hear the people around us whispering. I also noticed the corner of Daniel's mouth twitch into a slight, self-satisfied smirk. He looked at me with an expression of deep disappointment. I was genuinely curious. Where did Daniel find the confidence to lecture me with such a sanctimonious tone? "You must be very good at flipping things, seeing as how you twist the truth so easily," I said. "You accepted my family's scholarship money to go to school. Then you seduced my fiancé right before our wedding, and now you're slandering me in public. You have an impressive amount of nerve. I wish you the best of luck in getting what you deserve. Every year, my family donates a significant amount of money to various charities. Starting when I was in high school, my mother began sponsoring one student in particular. According to her, he and I would have a lot in common, since our interests were so similar. I never would have guessed that the person she was sponsoring was Daniel. Thinking about it now, everything, the painting, the musicals, it was all a calculated performance on his part. But I was studying abroad in high school. How did he even know about me? "Mr. Wilson, I know you look down on people like us who don't have money," Daniel said, his indignant tone pulling me back to the present. You're used to being praised all the time. You can't handle criticism, but you're being a bully. How can you just make up lies about me like that?" I looked closer and saw that his eyes were welling up with tears. "The scholarship was for your education," I said calmly. "Not so you could knowingly become the other man and steal someone else's fiancé." I held back Maya, who looked ready to jump back into the fight, and gently touched the bruise that was forming on the corner of her mouth. "We can't do this today. Let's just go home." As we walked past Chloe, she made one last attempt. Her slightly hoarse voice trembled as she spoke, trying to sound pitiful. "Alex, I'm hurt. It really hurts." If this had happened in the past, I would have rushed to her side to check on her. Like last New Year's Eve, when she had too much to drink and hit her head on the corner of a table. I had frantically gotten the first aid kit, dabbing at the cut while scolding her. "You know you have a lower pain tolerance than most people, yet you're still so careless. It serves you right." Outside the window, the city lights twinkled, and inside, we were in our own warm little world. I had asked her with genuine concern, "Does it hurt?" "It hurts." Chloe, who had been quiet until then, had finally smiled, her voice low as she let her guard down with me. Chloe knew exactly how to make me feel sorry for her. But things were different now. "Chloe, I have absolutely no respect for you," I said coldly. "Are you still trying to play the victim with me? Didn't you hear your new boyfriend complaining about how I was bullying him? You just slept with the man last night. The least you could do is try to defend him a little." Maya chimed in with a laugh. "That's because there's always a difference in quality between what's free and what's expensive." Seeing that her act wasn't working on me, Chloe gritted her teeth and turned her attack on Maya. "Maya, do you dare tell Alex how you took over the Shaw family? Do you dare let him know how ruthless and cold-hearted you really are? How you used your own mother to get the family fortune? How even the grandmother who raised you—" I suddenly snapped, my hand striking Chloe across the face. Only after I had hit her did I feel a sense of release, as if all the frustration that had been building up inside me finally had an outlet. Chloe stared at me, her eyes wide with disbelief. I hadn't thought before I acted. I just knew I couldn't let her say another word. I looked over at Maya, who had a pale, distant look on her face, as if she were lost in a memory. I grabbed her hand and quickly pulled her away. As for what Chloe had said, who cared? The car ride was silent. I wanted to say something to break her out of her somber mood, but I realized I didn't actually know very much about her. I had only returned from studying abroad for college and had spent all of my time focused on Chloe. My interactions with Maya had been limited to seeing her on campus or exchanging brief, polite greetings at social events. "Want to get a drink? I'll join you," I offered. "I'm sorry," she said at the exact same time. At a red light, she turned to look at me and smiled. "I was planning to take you home to rest after we got the license. My mistake for not checking the calendar before we left. I shouldn't have woken you up. I'll take you home so you can rest." Since Maya was acting like nothing had happened, I wasn't going to make things awkward by pressing the issue. At the end of the day, we were just using each other for our own purposes. Maya didn't come home until late that night. When she opened the door and saw that I was still up, she seemed surprised. "Waiting up for me?" I rolled my eyes at her, saved the document I was working on, and closed my laptop. Maya was enveloped in a damp chill, the ends of her hair still slightly wet. The faint scent of alcohol and tobacco clung to her. I pointed a finger at her. "You smell. You're not allowed in my bed tonight." She leaned against the doorway and chuckled. "I won't be. I just came to tell you about my plans. I have to go on a last-minute business trip. I'll be gone for about a week." After Maya left for her trip, my life didn't change very much. The only real annoyance was Chloe, who seemed to have lost her mind completely. She was neglecting her own company and had started camping out in the lobby of my apartment building, waiting for me every day. One day, I was leaving work as usual and had just stepped out of the parking garage elevator when a hand suddenly grabbed mine, startling me. "It's me, Alex," Chloe said, her eyes greedily scanning me from head to toe. "What in the world do you want?" I demanded, my voice sharp with anger. If I had any lingering positive feelings for her before, they were now completely gone. I felt like I needed to carry a knife with me just in case. "Alex, I know you and Maya are just putting on a show," she said. "You're just doing this to make me angry, to get back at me. Let's both just agree to move on. We can forget that we both cheated. Let's get back together, okay?" Looking at this completely transformed version of Chloe, I was so taken aback by her audacity that I almost laughed. "Let's be very clear about one thing. You were the only one who cheated. Maya and I are husband and wife. It's completely normal for us to sleep together." Okay, don't be upset," Chloe said with an indulgent smile on her face. She looked at me with a strange sense of helplessness. "The main reason I came today was to tell you that Maya's company has lost its funding. Be careful. Don't let her take advantage of you." This time, Chloe was decisive. She left as soon as she finished speaking. I sat in my car for a long time, considering the possibility that she was telling the truth. Maya's business trip that night had seemed very sudden. She didn't even have time to pack her bags. As she was leaving, I even overheard her on the phone telling someone to hold him. The Shaw family had a long history of operating on both sides of the law. In recent years, they had worked hard to create a more respectable public image, but who really knew what went on behind the closed doors of such a powerful family? Thinking about it all gave me a headache. After working non-stop for several days to win a new project, I had finally reached an agreement with an overseas client that day. All that was left was to sign the official contract. After some consideration, I contacted my assistant and had him switch the business trip from Maya's name to mine. Running away from a problem might be cowardly, but it was effective. I spent the next few days relaxing abroad and had a wonderful time. During that period, Maya sent me a message saying she was delaying her return home, but I ignored it. When my plane landed back at the airport, I was still enjoying the final moments of my vacation. My assistant had already returned to the country and had sent me a message saying that a car had been arranged to pick me up. It wasn't until I was already in the car that I realized something was wrong. "Pull over," I said. "I need to buy something." Up ahead was the turnoff that led to the suburbs and back to my office. There was a small convenience store on the side of the road. The driver didn't respond. "Sir, please stay in your seat." In the rearview mirror, I could see that the driver was wearing a mask. The eyes visible above it held a subtle warning. A chill ran down my spine, and I leaned back in my seat obediently. I was being kidnapped. A direct confrontation wasn't the right move. Were they after me, or were they using me to threaten Maya? After all, our wedding had been a major event, and in the world of business, it's impossible not to make a few enemies. My frantic thoughts came to an abrupt halt the moment I saw Daniel. I felt a sense of helpless, almost comical resignation. "I've looked into your background," I said, trying to reason with him. "You're a very talented artist, and your mentor speaks very highly of you. You have a bright future ahead of you. Is it really worth breaking the law and ruining your life for a woman?" I was tied to a large pillar in what looked like an abandoned warehouse, but a man blinded by love doesn't think rationally. He pressed a cold blade against my face. "You don't understand," he said. "Your parents are in love, your family is happy, and you've been treated like a prince your whole life. You went to the best schools with the newest technology. You were always so bright." So he had known about me even back then. Daniel held his hands up in front of my face, forcing me to look at them. "See these rough hands? Who would believe these belong to a young man? Difficult circumstances create difficult people. One day, when I was being beaten nearly to death, Chloe saved me. In that moment, she was like an angel. Someone so perfect, she wasn't disgusted by how dirty I was. She gently cleaned my wounds and asked if it hurt. In that moment, I promised myself that one day I would be the man standing beside her. For a moment, I didn't know whether to feel sorry for him or to hate him. I could guess what had happened next. Daniel had gotten into a good school with his excellent grades and had discovered that Chloe and I were childhood friends. He started by imitating my every word and mannerism to get Chloe's attention, and then gradually let his own personality emerge until he had completely won her over. A thought occurred to me. With skills like that, what couldn't you achieve? Daniel scoffed. No woman likes a man who is too controlling, but you're the one I hate the most. He gritted his teeth, every word filled with hatred for me. Chloe ran out on your wedding, and you're clearly not even faithful to her anymore, yet you still treat her with such indifference. So why does she keep coming back to you? What kind of power do you have over her? Because she's pathetic, I said, not hesitating to share my opinion of Chloe. I thought Daniel would argue with me. He seemed so obsessed with her. But after hearing my words, he froze for a second, and then burst out laughing. He laughed so hard that tears streamed down his face. You're right, he said. She is pathetic, but I'm still not happy about it. So, I've arranged a little game for us. Seeing the strange smile on Daniel's face, I felt a sense of dread. He took out a small remote control and pressed a button. The wooden floorboards in a semicircle around me splintered and fell away, revealing the churning water below. This was a warehouse built over the ocean. One more press of that button, and I would fall into the waves. With my hands tied, I would have no chance of surviving. I want to see, he said, his voice dangerously calm. Between you and me, who will Chloe choose? Daniel had completely lost his mind. As I watched him walk toward me with the remote, the old planks groaned under his weight. In that moment, I truly wanted to kill Chloe. To hell with her selfish affairs, and to hell with this life-or-death decision. All I could hope for was that my assistant would realize something was wrong and call the police. Time ticked by slowly. I took deep breaths to keep myself calm. Daniel, let me go, I said. I promise I'll stay far away from Chloe. I can guarantee she'll marry you. See? You're still acting so superior, Daniel said, not buying my act. His laughter echoed through the empty warehouse, making my hair stand on end. If Chloe chooses me, you die. If she chooses you, then I'll take you down with me. You're a lunatic, I spat. Suddenly, the sound of many hurried footsteps came from the entrance of the warehouse. My eyes lit up with hope as I stared intently at the first person to walk in. The warehouse doors swung open. It was Chloe. My hope vanished. Honey! My emotions were on a roller coaster, more turbulent than they had ever been in my life. Maya's voice at that moment was the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. Maya! I cried out, my eyes sparkling as I looked at her. The moment Maya entered, Daniel pressed the knife to my throat and started screaming hysterically. Behind Maya stood a dozen bodyguards. Get them out of here! Get them out! You touch one hair on his head, and I guarantee that your body will be dug up and flogged even after you're dead, Maya threatened. Chloe's brow furrowed, and she took a step forward. Daniel, let Alex go. I'll go with you to turn yourself in. I wanted to shove Chloe's head into the ocean right then and there. Did she think Daniel wasn't already agitated enough? Why did I have to suffer the consequences of her stupidity? As expected, Daniel's hand tightened around the knife. I was forced to tilt my head back, and a sharp pain shot through my skull. It was so intense I could feel the sweat beading on my forehead. Daniel's face was pale. Miss Shaw, I was the one who brought you and Alex together. It's not right to just cast me aside after you've used me." "You think you're worthy?" Maya shot me a reassuring look. When she turned back to Daniel, her eyes were as cold as ice. "What do you mean?" Olivia asked, playing dumb. "Playing innocent at this point is just pathetic," Maya said. "Take her down." At her command, Maya's bodyguards moved forward. Chloe didn't even have a chance to resist. "You never imagined that one night of cheating would lead to your family's years of illegal activities being exposed. So you embezzled company funds to cut off my cash flow. 1, you could take me down. 2, you could win back Alex and use him to fill the financial hole in your family's accounts." The tip of Maya's shiny leather shoe pressed against Chloe's chin in a humiliating gesture. "You never expected Alex to be so determined to leave you, so you had Daniel kidnap him so you could play the hero. With the debt of saving his life, even if you couldn't control him, you could at least save yourself. Right, Miss White?" Maya looked down at Chloe, her tone chillingly indifferent. Her words were like a hammer blow, clearing the fog in my mind. "That's right," she continued. "Some people have no conscience. She doesn't love you, but for her own benefit, she will cling to you. She'll suck your blood, eat your flesh, and when you have nothing left to give, she'll discard you without a second thought. And she'll continue to live her glamorous life. Daniel and I were both just pawns in Chloe's game." I glanced over at Daniel. He was staring at Chloe with an obsessed look in his eyes. Suddenly, his expression changed. Chloe's arm was dislocated by one of the bodyguards, and a muffled grunt echoed through the warehouse. "I admit my motives weren't pure," she said. "But can you honestly say you've treated Alex right? To get him, you ignored his feelings and set up his fiancée to sleep with another man right before his wedding. He gets kidnapped, and you show up immediately after. You knew it was dangerous, but you did nothing to prevent it. In the end, it was all for your own selfish reasons. How is your love any better than mine?" "Actually, I had my own suspicions. I have a tracker on me, but Maya shouldn't have had access to it, yet she found me with perfect accuracy, even faster than the police could have. But for now, I had to remain silent. I saw a bodyguard silently moving toward me. Just one more step, and he could overpower Daniel. But in that one step, Chloe saw him. She screamed, 'Daniel, press the button!' Daniel was on the same section of the platform as me. If he pressed the button, he would fall with me. Chloe didn't care at all if he lived or died, but Daniel was too far gone. Hearing her command, he obeyed without a moment of hesitation. I let out an involuntary cry and choked on a mouthful of seawater. The waves crashed over me, pulling me down into the cold darkness. Before I went under, I saw the look of pure terror in Maya's eyes. The air in my lungs was being squeezed out of me. I thought I was going to die. My life began to flash before my eyes. I saw a run-down little house in a chaotic, noisy neighborhood. A girl in a blue and white school uniform stood quietly amidst the decay. She had a clean, pure aura about her. Her eyes were filled with sorrow as she looked at the frail old woman lying on the bed. My heart softened, and I stepped forward to pat the girl's shoulder. The scene shifted, and I was in a hospital. The girl sat on a bench outside an operating room, her face buried in her hands, enveloped in an aura of despair. It wasn't until the doctor told her to accept his condolences that she looked up, and I realized it was a teenage Maya. So we had met much earlier than I thought. I had just forgotten. In high school, talking to my best friend, I had heard that the Shaw family had taken in an illegitimate daughter. I had heard that this daughter, in an attempt to win favor with her new family, had personally thrown out her own biological mother when she came looking for her. I hadn't paid any attention to it at the time. It was just gossip. So that had been her all along. In a daze, I saw someone jump into the water, a figure swimming toward me. My vision was already blurring. I couldn't make out who it was. When their lips met mine and a familiar scent filled my senses, I knew it was Maya. When I opened my eyes, I was momentarily blinded by the pure white of my surroundings. I closed them again, waiting for the discomfort to pass. I heard a door open and someone sit down by my bed. "Honey, you've been asleep for 3 days," a voice said. "Any longer and you'll turn into a pig." Maya took my hand and pressed it against her cheek. In my head, I was cursing her. "The doctor said if it's more than 4 days, they'll have to shave your head to check for brain damage. But don't worry, even if you're bald, I'll still love you." At that, my eyes snapped open. I gritted my teeth. "You dare?" "Done pretending?" Seeing the teasing look in her eyes, I knew I'd been tricked. All the tests had been done the day I was admitted to the hospital. I glared at Maya, and she just chuckled softly. Then, she gently pulled me into her arms. The gesture was tender and solemn. "Thank God you're okay," she whispered. "Thank God." Her voice was laced with the panic of almost losing someone precious. As she held me, the anger in my heart melted away. Fine. For someone who was willing to risk her life and jump into the sea for me, she was worth keeping around. She told me that Daniel had died in the ocean. His body was never found. Chloe was sentenced to prison for embezzlement and kidnapping. One thing led to another, and many of Chloe's other crimes were uncovered. She would probably spend the rest of her life behind bars. She and Daniel had conspired to set me up, and they would both pay the price. Once I had mostly recovered, I moved back in with my parents. From then on, Maya's daily routine of going between home and work gained a third stop. Every day after work, she would be waiting at my front door. My mom gave me a light smack on the back of the head. I rubbed it anyway. "Your father and I think Maya is a good kid. She might be a bit ruthless in how she handles things, but if she weren't, we'd be worried. You better be careful not to mess things up and lose her." My mom sat down next to me, and I took the opportunity to pop a strawberry into her mouth. She didn't know about Maya and Daniel's past, and I had no intention of telling her. To be honest, while Maya had her flaws, I wasn't exactly a saint myself. When I first had my suspicions, I chose to ignore them for my own benefit. That deal with the overseas client was something I had secured by taking advantage of my connection to Maya. But you have to know when to play your cards. If you don't push your luck when you have the chance, what's the point? Besides, I pulled a lab report from my coat pocket. "Don't worry, she's not going anywhere." My mom snatched the paper from my hand and read it carefully. The smile on her face grew wider and wider, and she completely forgot her manners, shouting at the top of her lungs, "David, your daughter-in-law is pregnant!" she yelled as she walked out the door and brought Maya inside. My mom had already told her the news on the way in. When Maya saw me, she couldn't hide her excitement. "Honey? Stop." I looked up at her. My mom had already gone upstairs to find my dad, leaving just the two of us in the living room. "I wasn't going to forgive you, but for the baby's sake, I think we can give this a try. We'll live like a normal married couple, but we're not getting a marriage license." I could see Maya's brain short-circuit for a second. "Why?" "I'm afraid you'll hit me," I said calmly. "We can get a prenuptial agreement for our assets, but if you hit me after we're married, that's domestic abuse, and it will be difficult for me to protect myself." Maya didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "What are you thinking? I'm not a violent person." "Hard to say," I said, feigning disbelief. "Without a marriage license, if she hit me, it would be assault. If she hit me hard enough, it would be attempted murder. Our families are equally powerful, so I wasn't afraid of her using her influence to pressure me." "So, do you agree or not?" "Okay," Maya agreed with a helpless sigh. "Can I take you home now?" I nodded. Mission accomplished. Pushing it any further would be inappropriate. That night, I said goodbye to my parents and left with Maya. I never expected her pregnancy to be so difficult. Morning sickness, leg cramps, swelling. The worst part was how it affected her mood. She couldn't control when she laughed or cried. She ran me so ragged that I lost weight. Or so my mom said. The day our baby was born, when I heard that both mother and daughter were safe, I burst into tears on the spot. What was even funnier was that she had no postpartum issues at all. On the other hand, I got depression. One night, I woke up from another anxiety-fueled nightmare and sat on the edge of the bed, unable to fall back asleep. Maya sensed my movement and expertly got up to get me a glass of water and my medication, gently coaxing me to take it. During the day, she went with me to see a therapist. For the first 2 months, we were inseparable. I found it funny, but my heart melted. Later, we named our baby Hope. May all her wishes come true. Tomorrow is another day.